Hello everyone, this is a Ford Focus RS and this is a Golf R's worst nightmare. We are.
But this is just on a whole new level.
TVEC.
This is a performance car after all, so you'd expect it to be a lot more rough in terms of ride.
Reactions.
Yo!
Reviews.
Handmade engineering underneath this monster.
Messing around.
4 liters of fuel. Eugene, you're paying for this.
It's crazy. I'm not gonna have enough.
Like, comment, subscribe, enjoy. Firstly, I'd just like to give a massive thank you to Buerta and Diesel Motors here in Rudderport. You can just see the details right there. You want to check out this car, it is linked down below. It is currently for sale as this video is live. So if you want to check out also other stuff that they have, make sure you click their website because they have a lot more stuff in stock. Now, onto the review. Before we have to get into the details of this car, we have to speak about the design. Just look at this car. Look at this Ford Performance Nitrous Blue color. Because there were only 4 options listed for this car when it was new that you could get, which was black, red, white, and blue. I think majority of people did go for blue, and I think it's a very, very good option choice. Looking around this car, it just has elements of such boy racer stuff. Like looking at the front end, it just comes to a point, like as you can see with the grille, with the front splitter, the carbon fiber elements, the fenders and everything. It just comes to a point that just says, I'm very sexy and I'm here to stay. Then coming alongside over here, they did take elements of something like a regular Ford Focus or even a Ford Focus ST, but they enhanced it a lot more. You can just see like it went to the gym and got a lot more leaner. Basically a Ford Focus ST went to the gym and decided, let me put on a bit more muscle and drop a little bit of weight. And then coming over here, of course, being a hot hatch, it needs to have a spoiler. Obviously with the RS badge right over there engraved into it, so that if you're driving and you have it for a long time, it's not gonna fall off. And then coming back over here, you have the carbon fiber diffuser, as well as these 2 big giant exhaust tailpipes, which do make this car sound incredibly nicely. We will get to that in a moment. And obviously, being a rally car, it has, well, the racing car, it has a rear reverse light. So that's very cool and that's a very nice element to have. So now, let's move inside.
Okay guys, so we are now inside of the Focus RS, and to be honest, you probably wouldn't know that other than for 2 reasons. Now, as you can start off and see over here, you have a really nice flat bottom steering wheel that indicates this is an RS product. The only other way to really tell that this is an RS is the RS badged Recaro specific seats for this car. Now, these are bucket seats, but they have some really nice Alcantara as well as some really nice stitched leather, and weirdly enough, they are really, really comfortable. Now, they aren't very adjustable, being bucket seats. You can only move them backwards and forwards, and so there comes a problem where many people complain that you sit a bit too high. Now, luckily for me, I'm not the tallest of people out there, so for me, the position to drive is actually a really nice position. I have a good view in front of me. But I have to say, the seats aren't as comfortable as a Civic Type R. If you want to check that video out, go check it out. We'll leave a link down below. Those seats were just something else. Those seats could be in a Bentley and I'd be fine with them because they were just so comfortable. Don't hate on me for saying that. They were just comfortable. And trust us, go sit in the Civic Type R. Your life will be changed in terms of bucket seats. Now, other than that, inside the car, there is nothing else that tells you that this is an RS product. So I kind of wish that Ford went the little bit extra and told you it was an RS product all over the place. Like if they put RS over here and RS over here and had the RS here and had a very specific steering wheel that you could only get an RS with more blue stitching to make it stand out a bit more. There's your Ford charm that I have in my Ford EcoSport. Because this, weirdly enough, looks like a Ford EcoSport inside. Other than the fact that it goes to 300 on the gauge cluster. Now, as you can see on the gauge cluster, it is all analog with a small digital display over here, which shows your fuel and all of your basic consumption stuff. But your temperature gauges, your speedometer, and your tachometer is all analog, which we like as car people. Now, I must say, the build quality is decent. There's some nice softer materials here, nothing fantastic or extravagant, as we like to say. But my problems come over here when all of your gauges and stuff is very movable. It is not the most well-built car in the entire world. It is not a German car. I did forget to mention these gauges are also for the Focus RS to show your boost bar and your other temperature gauges as well, which I wish Ford did a bit better. I wish it was like a cool round dial or something like that you'd find in something like an Abarth, but it's not bad. It's not anything to really complain about. Now, you do have some space over here, which you can lift up, and then you take this out, and you've got enough space here for like a new Nokia or something. Not a lot of space, but again, this is a Racer Boys performance hot hatch for rallying, so you don't really need that space. But Ford did think about you, and you can actually press these to adjust to have ample space for cups and bottles of all sizes. So if you have quite a big bottle, you can adjust it. If you have something small to hold, you can adjust it, which is really nice of Ford. Now, you do have a side bin here, which isn't very big, so we're not really going to talk about that much. And actually, there's not much more to speak about in the driver's side. So I'm actually going to hand it over to G now to let you know what his side of things are like on the passenger side.
So as I sit here in the Recaro bucket seats, this is probably one of the most comfortable Recaro bucket seats I've ever sat in. So recently, I actually was in a 275 Trophy, and that car felt like it was on steel, like it was rocks. And this just feels so much more plush, like it supports you better, it hugs you better. And I do get the complaint where you do feel like you are sitting on top of this car rather than in this car. Personally, I rather just feel like I want to sit inside it so that I can feel what's going on with the driving dynamics of this car. Still have, you know, your typical Ford bits, your cheap plastic over here. It is a cheap economy car, apart from how it looks on the outside. You know, what they were going for was cheap, well, I wouldn't say cheap speed, but affordable speed in that sense. And then coming to the infotainment system, this is the very old Ford Sync 3 system. It's still very good. It still has, you know, what's needed in a car. You still have your phone, your media, your audio, Bluetooth, everything associated with a touchscreen infotainment system. Now, I'm not going to deny that it's actually quite fast for a car that's near on reaching 7 years old, well, 8 years old, almost a decade old. What am I trying to say? Almost nearly a decade old. Of course, being a hot hatch, you have your 6-speed shifter as well as your drive modes, and it feels so incredibly nice. It feels so weighty, so just, you know, the throws just make it feel like you are one of the best drivers probably that's ever been put on this earth. So now, let's go check out the rear space.
We are now at the back seat of the Ford Focus RS because this is a hot hatch, and hot hatches are supposed to be fast but practical and affordable in a sense. And so we here to just check out how comfortable the back seats are. And in terms of comfortability, this car is superb. It is better in the back seats than the GR Corolla was. It's better than what the Golf 8R was. If you want to go watch the video, go watch it. And I have to say the front seats are also nicer because they do hold you in a bit more than that of the Golf R. Now, I must say, this is just really nicely done. You obviously, again, have your Recaro stitching here to tell you that these aren't your common Focus seats. Now, you have some really, really nice suede Alcantara running along the inner part of the seats with some nice stitched leather running around the rest. And it is just fantastic. There's loads of legroom here. These are both our seating positions here, more or less. And so you can see there's a lot of legroom. There's a good amount of headroom. So someone that's 6 foot might just be able to fit in here perfectly. And then you have, obviously, your Ford product stuff here. You've got a little bit of leather for your armrest over here. And then this is like not the best of quality, but it's a Ford. We'll cut some slack for them. You have a little bit of storage here for some coins or something like that. And other than that, there's nothing really to discuss in the back, because the most important part about this car is underneath it and in front of it. So let's head to the back and see how practical the Focus RS is.
So now at the rear space of this car, because again, it is a hot hatch, we have to check out how practical it is. Looking inside here, it is a very big opening. I do have to say that, although when you do put the seats down, I'm pretty sure it will become a lot more practical. Then looking underneath here, now you do not get a spare wheel because the tires are actually very RS specific to this car. Like, they really did make it specifically bespoke for this model because they wanted to remove a lot of the weight from something like a Focus ST. But apart from that, majority of everything that you're going to get in here is a standard Ford Focus. You have your warning triangle, you have a little bit of storage compartment down there. You also have a leather tether point, as well as some hooks that you can just put some shopping on. But now let's go talk about the glorious engine.
Okay guys, we are now at the front end and under the bonnet of the Focus RS, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about the performance of this car. Now, underneath the bonnet you have the same motor as in a Ford Mustang, and no, that's not the V8. This is actually the 2.3 litre 4-cylinder EcoBoost turbocharged motor. Now, it is not exactly the same, as that Ford Mustang had 306 horsepower And this motor actually went knocking on Cosworth's door and got some cylinder heads done by them. And so this car pushes out 350 horsepower or 257 kilowatts of power and 470 newton meters of torque. And with the overboost function, actually pushes 510 newton meters of torque, which is insane. That's more than an RS3. Now, other than that, the main performance upgrades are obviously your cooling. Your engine is now the 2.3, and so it sounds a lot better than a Golf R. But weirdly enough, being a Ford, even though it has more power than a Golf R, it's somehow slower. If you want to check out Alex, go check Throttle House's video, because they have some performance shootouts between this and a Golf R, both manual, so it was quite a fair test, and this somehow was slower and slower on the track. But never mind that. There's like a girl with red flags that you really, really like. You mask the red flags a bit and you go on to the things that you like. So let's head on to the things that we like. Now, coming to the sides here, I want to speak about the brakes. Because this car is all-wheel drive, which is actually the first RS model in the Focus range that was all-wheel drive. The previous was a front-wheel drive and 5-cylinder. I wish Ford had put a flippin' 5-cylinder in this. Come on, Ford. This was the last RS model out, and you didn't put the 5-cylinder in. You should have. But no doubt, this car sounds really good, so stick around for that. Now, coming to the sides, because as I said, this is a rally race car, performance-biased car. Getting to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.5 seconds. So now Ford has equipped this with over 350 millimeter discs and 4-piston caliper brakes from Brembo to ensure that this car stops as quick as it goes. Now the brakes and wheels are also lighter. The most interesting thing though about this car is actually to the rear. Now this is a 4-wheel drive system, but it's not any 4-wheel drive system, and it's not even by Ford. Ford went on knocking on some doors, and actually this is a twin clutch torque rear or torque distribution, torque vectoring, whatever you want to call it, rear differential. And so this car is able to send 70% of its power to the rear end, and of that 70%, it can manage the two clutches at the rear and decipher which wheel it wants to send all the power to, which allows you to get through a corner a lot quicker. Or if you're a racer boy like we are, you can actually get the car out into a drift. Now this was the first hot hatch to do that, and weirdly enough, for an 8-year-old car, that is insane. And if it sounds familiar, it's because it is. The actual current Golf 8R and Audi RS3, and even something like an A45, all have that same technology now. So Ford was just levels above at this time. They were way ahead of the competition, and coming in at a price similar to a Civic Type R of the time, it is just nuts. So save your money on a Golf R and get a Focus RS. Let's actually head over to the rear end and see how the car sounds.
So now that we're at the end of this review, what do we think about the Focus RS? Now, this won't be a full conclusion review because we have not driven this car yet, but that's what you guys should be liking, commenting, and subscribing so that we can actually eventually take this car out and see what it's like to drive. But apart from that, we really, really love this car. I mean, the bucket seats are so much more better than a Golf R. The driving dynamics of this car, I'm pretty sure, will be better than a Golf R. Even though it is a bit slower than it on a track, it looks better. It sounds a lot better than a Golf R. Majority of this car, there's very little things to not like about this, but just by looking at the styling and looking at this color and looking about what it gives you, especially at this value now, because now after about 7 or 8 years, it's only held its value for about 300,000 Rand in difference, which is very, very good for a car actually, because brand new, you could get one for almost 800,000 Rand or even 700,000 Rand. So in less than 7-8 years, it's only lost maybe half of the value or even less of that, but it's a very, very good car. So now I'd just like to give a massive thank you to Buerta and Diesel Motors here in Rudaport for giving us this car again. If you want to check out what they have, I'll just put the links in the description down below. And well, I hope you guys enjoyed this review because there's a lot more of these coming in the future, including that M3 right there. So we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.